Can we get some ratchet one time?
Look, I don't wanna talk. How you try and press the kid and really you was soft. All you know is capping, homie, you don't know the law. Pedal to the metal, you ain't catching me.
There you go, folks. A little Dr. Phil for you. Dr. Phil in the house. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Welcome tonight, everyone out there in the great lands. We are the MCU's Bleeding Edge, and tonight, 3-1, not 1-1, 3-1, as my wonderful co-host said earlier, to discuss the 1995 film, The Heat, or Heat as it's known. Not to be confused with the 2013 Melissa McCarthy, Sandra Bullock film, okay, people? Paul Feig, no. This is Heat by Michael Mann from 95, people. So a classic. Now, coming in at a runtime of 2 hours and 50 minutes. I forgot how long this movie was when I was rewatching it today. I had forgotten it was almost 3 hours long. And it's been a while since I've seen it. I don't know about you guys, but I forgot that there was a lot of dead space in this film. And I was like, we could have just switched that a little bit, I feel. But anyways, so we have some new blood on our panel tonight. Of course, we have, Mr. Andreas returning, Mr. Time Cop himself. Welcome, sir. And, of course, my co-host, Mr. TrueKnowledge himself, Jeff S. himself. Welcome, sir. So, new blood here, we got Mr. Max over here. And please, Max, where do you hail from?
Hey, so, my name is Max. I am a co-host for Horror Movie Talk. Obviously, that's a horror movie review show, so we haven't done Heat on our show, but, maybe we should. Maybe it's close enough.
There you go, folks. Welcome from Horror Movie Talk. Glad to have you here. And then, of course, we have two other guests joining us. Once again, what were their names again? I'm sorry. I'm totally drawing a blank on their names.
Matt and Tim. Matt and
Tim.
From the Middle-Aged Movie Review Podcast.
Thank you. Matt and Tim, welcome, sirs. And he briefly mentioned your name a second ago, but I totally forgot already. But it's all good. Anyways, please, either Matt or Tim, if you like, or both of you like, please let us know who the Middle Ages podcast.
All right, I'll handle this one. I'm Middle-Aged Matt, or Matty Boom Batty to some of my friends. We are a movie review podcast. We're three middle-aged men talk about 1,001 movies to watch before you die, from the self-titled book 1,001 Movies You Must Watch Before You Die. We take turns going through the book, picking out movies, finding ones that we want to talk about. We have this really cool selection process, and then we review them, talk about them, and it's kind of a free-flowing conversation. We're purely a podcast, so you can hear us in audio form on Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube Music, YouTube, and let's see. We also have a Facebook page, Middle Age Movie Reviews Facebook page, or MAM Reviews for short. So,
excellent. Thank you, guys. Welcome to the podcast. Love your guys' avatars here. Really great. And 1,001 Movies to See Before I actually, back in 2010, I actually started reading that book. I've pretty much read every single rendition they've brought out in the last, almost 13 years now, 14. And I've actually loosely been doing that myself on my personal account under Cyberneticshark over the last 14 years. So you guys have a great mind. I like that. That's great.
Well, the premise actually came from our good friend Middle-Aged Tim over here. It was his brainchild, and I'm just the guy behind the scenes, just putting all the pieces together.
Excellent.
Yeah,
I
was just the guy with the book.
Okay. Hey, that I just happened to come across it too in the library one day, and next thing I know, I was addicted. So it's all good. I understand that. Anyways, all right. So like I said, we're here to discuss the 1995 film Heat. And of course, like I said, it's directed by Mr. Michael Mann, who we all have seen direct many other great films over the years. He just recently wrote Heat 2, the book, and he's supposed to be making that into an actual movie here soon. So we got a Heat sequel coming eventually. And it was a huge success when it came out in 95. It was released December 15th of 1995. And this movie has a huge ensemble cast. I forgot how many people were in this movie because it's been so long since I watched it. And I was blown away with how many people were in this, and kind of in their beginning phase or kind of their heyday era before they kind of, have gone on to like do smaller roles and stuff like that. But a lot of big players were in this movie at the height of their fame. So I think this movie is a great example of just high caliber acting, as you would say. So just to go around the panel and kind of get everyone's thoughts, what time you watched Heat, and what was your first experience with it? What did you think about it? What did you enjoy? And was there anything you disliked or didn't like about it? Let's start with you, Matt.
Okay. Well, the first time I saw this movie, I was actually in college. I was watching the old. Now, some of your listeners might be too young for this, but there's these things called VHS tapes, and you would put them in this thing called a VCR, and you would watch like a low resolution movie on this device, and then once you were done with it, you had to rewind the whole tape and then return it to a video store, which was a brick and mortar place where you would take the movies back to it. So yeah, I had watched it in college, sitting around with a bunch of my college buddies. We watched the movie, and after that, we realized that we all wanted to rob a bank. So I wouldn't say that drugs lead to crime. Maybe watching movies leads to crime. But yeah, it was really neat to see DeNiro and Pacino. Oh, geez. Did I do that? I think I did.
Yeah.
Oh, drink, people.
Two drinks.
Watching them go head to head was pretty phenomenal.
So for you, those out there, drinking game tonight, everyone is drinking their drink of choice. But the words tonight, of course, will be, and you don't have to drink to this because I am just saying the name of the game here. Al Pacino, De Niro, or Robert De Niro, or Al, or just Pacino, or Michael Mann, or even Val Kilmer, or Val or Kilmer. So those are the wonderful words that will be being used for the drinking game tonight, folks out there. So just to kind of reiterate that for you guys. All right, yeah, I mean, brick and mortar VHS tapes. I grew up on those myself, and I mean, I remember going to rent a VCR at Placer TV in California, where I came from, and we would rent the VCR itself, and then rent the tape too as well. And one of the first films I remember my parents renting for me was The Labyrinth in 1986 when it first came out on VHS. So I think that it was a fantastic time, and I wish they still did that. It's too bad that a lot of these brick and mortar video stores are gone. If I had the money, I would try to bring them back myself, because you don't get a feeling like you do when you went into a Blockbuster, a Hollywood Video, or a Placer TV, or one of the one-based family-owned video stores like that. It's such a great feeling. All right. Middle-aged Tim, your thoughts, your first time watching Heat, and your overall thoughts, sir.
Well, unlike my younger cohort there, I remember hitching up the horse and buggy, grab my favorite gal, and galloping on down to the local brick and mortar theater to see this a couple days after my birthday to celebrate. So we sat in the theater and watched this. I remember sitting there thinking, like, this is the next evolution in action film. Before that, it was all the 80s, films where it was like endless action, one gun, one magazine, endless bullets, all that kind of stuff. This finally took on a serious overtone, like the gunfights were well choreographed and the movements were good. I feel like this was the first stepping stone towards, like, ultimately what brings us John Wick. I think this, and then Ronin a few years later, again, sets the bar, and we keep moving forward towards, what ultimately we all love. John Wick is the ultimate action film, but and it's not just an action film, it's a crime film. So it's kind of a noir of our age. So I loved it. And right from the get go, you see the movie start. You've got, here you go, get the glasses ready. You got DeNiro stealing an ambulance. You've got Kilmer buying explosives, and the devil himself, Pacino, laying some pipe. So you got, they're all working right at the beginning. And we get to see the first appearance of Princess Amidala, who is going to become Queen Amidala someday. And we also get a cameo from the singer Nickelback, Chad Kroeger, as Wayne Grow, which I know is actually Kevin Gage, but it does look a lot like Chad Kroeger. And amazingly, nobody in this movie likes him either. So, but I was happy to see that the hair plugs that he was able to put in from the residuals from this movie stayed, and he was able to get a career later on in music. So, but yeah, really love the movie.
Excellent. And that's 3 drinks, people.
3 drinks. There you go.
Jesus.
I wanted to come out strong.
Can I drink on credit?
Yes, you can. You can. All right. Thank you very much, Tim. Max, same question, sir. Your first time watching it, your first overall thoughts on it when you first saw it.
Yeah, well, first I'd like to say Matt and Tim are really, their name shows middle age. They're coming out swinging with the VHS talk. I'm 25, so the only VHSs I used were right before DVD became super popular, and then we left it in the past. So not as much experience with it there. And I also wasn't able to see this movie in theaters because I wasn't born. That'll
usually really fuck you up with that.
Yeah. My first time watching this movie was today when I watched it just a few hours ago. So I hadn't seen it before this, but my initial thoughts and reactions are that it's such a long movie. It's so incredibly long. I don't know if TikTok has just rotted my brain or, what. My attention span is just so low. But no movie, in my opinion, deserves to be nearly 3 hours. That is just so long. So obviously, I recognize that there are amazing parts to this movie. Like you mentioned at the beginning, I think that in between those amazing parts, it kind of slogs a little bit. There's a lot of dead space and a lot of dialogue, which sometimes the dialogue really hits, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of just filler. So yeah, I liked it. I wish it was an hour shorter.
Excellent. Thank you. Andreas, your thoughts, sir, the first time, and your overall thoughts the first time you watched it.
Oh, sure. Well, yeah, just like like my young counterpart here, I didn't see it in theaters because I was born in 1996 in my other ritual timeline. Well, first off, my first time knowing this film was really from Christopher Nolan, because this movie was a huge influence on The Dark Knight, and that was like my first time of hearing this film from like another director. And when I caught the film in TV, like I think like 2 years ago, after 2008, I was like, oh, this is the movie that Christopher Nolan was talking about. And I was blown away because I already saw The Godfather, so I knew Pacino and DeNiro already. Oh my God. I'm sorry, folks. Oh God. We should try something else. Like an eating game. We should eat a lot of cookies in this challenge. Anyway. So I love this movie. I mean, Michael Mann, he's not for everyone. He's like a hit and miss director. I mean, come on. I love the Thief. The last what's the one with Daniel Day-Lewis? Cyber, help me out here. The McKeans movie.
Last of the Mohicans.
Thank you. That was great. And of course, he did Manhunter, the original Hannibal Lecter film before The Silence of the Lambs.
Brian Cox is a Hannibal Lecter.
Yes, love Brian Cox. Great choice. So, one of the amazing films he has made, and this one is top tier. I think this is my favorite film of his filmography. I mean, I love DeNiro and Pacino. You can totally see.
Drink again.
Oh man, it's definitely Friday.
Hey, how do we know that the middle-aged men are drinking. We can't see their faces. That's not fair.
Would you like me to gargle for you each time?
Yes, please. No, yeah, please.
Only if you're only if you're
we want to hear
only,
sipping.
only if you're gargling a nut from She-Hulk's penis.
I want it to be really loud. Yeah. There you go.
I got a freebie for the next round from that one.
I mean, I'm just drinking Red Bull, so it's not like I want y'all to get drunk or anything. But
Fair warning. Does anybody have misophonia?
no, I want to hear as many mouth sounds as possible.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, anyway, so great film. I'm excited to talk about it. I'm excited to hear you guys' thoughts about it.
Excellent. Thank you, Andres. And just shout out to Kelly in the comment section. Welcome, Kelly. Thanks for watching. And can't wait to have you back on the panel soon. And now, Sir Jeff, to close out this first round, your thoughts on your first watch of Heat and your first overall reaction, sir, please.
First watch of Heat probably was probably I'd say in '96 probably. So when I was, 13, and I saw it multiple times at age 13, age 14. It was right in that same period when Face Off came out, right? So like these were films that were in rotation for me and my friends, like when we would smoke weed and like drink and party and shit and whatnot and watch our VHS tapes and all that shit. What's up, Cal? So no, my first thoughts back in the day were that pretty much what they are now. Since I'm like a 90s kid, I don't give a shit about 3 hour long movies. They don't faze me. I'm going to see Dune tomorrow night. It's 3 hours long. It won't bother me. I might just have to like dip out and like go out and smoke a joint once or twice during it and whatnot. Cause with my ADHD, I can't sit in the theater like that for that long without getting up and walking out. I have to go outside and catch a breath. But really, the action scenes are great. I love DeNiro. I love Pacino. Oh, 2 drinks.
Drink.
I love, Chris Shaherlis in the film. He's great, right? One of his best films, probably, I think, is Heat, to be honest with you. Like, he pretty much peaked with Heat. But the secondary characters, especially the women in the film, that the actresses that play the love interests or whatever whatnot of like the 2 major spearheads of the film just don't handle it. I don't know if it's the writing or if it's casting or if it's the spearheads themselves just not flowing or whatever whatnot, but they just don't work effectively for me in the film. And because they're not effective, there's no drama to this movie. It's just an action movie that's really long as fuck. And that's what I thought back in the day watching it when I was a little kid. I remember thinking to myself, holy shit, this is really long. There's no sex, like no nudity, right? And this is the 90s when we had nudity. And the worst, they could have had sex scenes and shit in this. So they should increase the budget or some shit. But just too long for like what you're given in this film. They try to make some of the scenes out to be more profound than they actually are, almost, right? When it comes to like certain elements that they add to the film that just don't even really like matter in terms of the length. Like, for instance, the cook, right? The short order cook or whatever guy that's a driver for like 5 minutes, then he gets killed. That is Haysbert character. He wasn't even necessary in the film, right? Like, in all honesty. So that's pretty much all I've got to say.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. So, as we keep on saying here, this movie has a huge ensemble cast. From the main characters, of course, we have the 3 main characters that are really kind of the big heads with the film. And then, of course, we have Danny Trejo, Tom Sizemore, Amy Brenneman, Miquette Williamson, who played Bubba in Forrest Gump, Wes Studi, Ted Levine, Natalie Portman, Ashley Judd, William Fichtner, John Voight. This movie has a huge cast. I mean, Bud Cort playing the cook that Dennis Haysbert goes to work for briefly, that we get to see in the movie. It was absolutely hilarious. I was like, I was watching it going, holy crap, that's Bud Cort. I'm like, I haven't seen him in forever. And at that time, he was like almost 40 years old. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, he looked horrible. And thinking to myself, I'm like, wow, I can't believe how old he's looked for so long, especially ever since he was in Harold Lamont. I mean, he was pretty young in that, but he always looked kind of like an old person. So it's kind of funny seeing him like older, and he looked like an old person, but it was funny that he had that small little part, which was really funny. But huge cast. I mean, lots of great talents. Like I said, a lot of them were, already pretty big. A lot of them, this was kind of their beginning. Like Amy Brenneman, this was around the time she was starting to get her big time, because a year later she would be in Daylight with Sylvester Stallone, which would give her some more names. She would have her TV show that she would be in, Judging Amy, the same year or so. And, a lot of these players were becoming big actors at the time, where some of them were already at their peak, such as our main characters. But like William Fichtner, I think, is a fantastic actor. He always plays really good side characters. Armageddon, he was fantastic as that Colonel. And then, of course, pretty much anything else he's ever in, he's always usually plays really great slimy characters, or is just a really great character actor. And then Natalie Portman in this, I totally had forgotten she was in this, playing, Pacino's stepdaughter, Drake. So that was funny to see her in this, and I'm like, holy crap, I forgot she was in this. So rewatching this was really kind of like a time machine, going back in time and seeing some of these people, almost 30 years ago now, because next year will be its 30th anniversary. And it's just funny how many of these people, how they're still pretty prominent today. A lot of these actors and stuff are still hanging around. So I just want to go around the board here and ask, what were your thoughts on this huge cast that was in this? Did you like it? Did you think it was too many people? What was your overall thoughts on this great ensemble cast? Let's start with you, middle-aged Tim, first.
I think you got to give props to Bonnie Timmerman. I mean, she was the casting director, I believe, and it's an amazing cast. I mean, there's so many people in this. You just, as you watch it, and especially for me, I only watch these movies every once in a while. You watch it over again, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot this person was in it. I forgot this person was in it. And it's just it's a who's who of the time, and like you said, it's all big people, or people that are on their way up, or just those faces that that are consistent in Hollywood as maybe not a leading person, but they're always that secondary person that's in there. The one I found most interesting, though, and I'm sorry guys, but was Val Kilmer, because he was actually the second choice. Yeah, got a drink. So he was the second choice. Actually, Keanu Reeves was the first choice for Chris, which I thought was interesting. And him not, I think he decided to go do Hamlet or something like that instead of doing this film. And that was a $2 million mistake for him, because in a few years, when he finally does the movie with Al Pacino, The Devil's Own, he has to give up $2 million of his own money to give to Pacino, so Pacino will do the film with him. So I think that's kind of funny in itself. But and when you watch, I'm sorry, Val Kilmer play the role, it is kind of Keanu Reeves-esque. I mean, it's got that same feel,
right?
That Keanu Reeves does. Drink. But yeah, I think everybody's pretty spot on. The only one that gets a little annoying to me, and I hate to say it, especially because we're gonna have to drink, is Al Pacino. And I think he just gets a little over the top on some of this. And I mean, I know that's his shtick. I know that's what he does, but sometimes it's like, dial it down a little less is more. And although I read later that he kind of played his character like he was on cocaine the whole time, which, okay, maybe I'll give it to him then. But
yeah, I can see that.
It was
She's got a big ass,
right? Yeah, exactly. You just got to do that. He's just, I'm going to get crazy. And it's like, okay, tone it down a little, man. But yeah, but the person that was on point was DeNiro. Drink. His character was
you got me smashing drinks over here.
I
bro.
know it. Man.
You know what I'm saying? I'm about to have to go out to the garage and reload just as you got me drinking so quick.
Yeah, just remember, you invited me, not my fault. But yeah, he was on point. I think this was like by far one of his best performances ever. His character is solid and on point the whole time.
Excellent, thank you. And yeah, I mean, I think the over the topness was fantastic because that's just him. And I mean, you know, a couple of those scenes where he just goes, yeah, you're just kind of like cracking up a little bit, you know, how he goes way overboard. So I enjoyed it because it made the film a little more entertaining. Because I think that's one thing about Al himself is that he is that over the topness, and I love that. Drink. All right, thank you, sir. Let's go to you, Max. Next, your thoughts on the ensemble cast, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I thought everyone did a great job. My only thing is I would have made the cast a little smaller. I think there's a lot of characters in here who don't really add anything substantial to the story. So I think cutting them would have made the movie a little more tight. But the performances were great. I thought the overacting was actually really fun to watch. I laughed out loud multiple times at some of the lines. So no real problems there. I thought the cast is great.
Excellent, thank you. Middle-aged Matt, your thoughts, sir.
All right, so let me unpack this. So I think that this is really cool that this is the first time that we get to see Michael Corleone and Vito Corleone acting in the same frames together. Okay, the fact that these two actors who are the epitome of movie stars. I mean, you got Michael Corleone, who's just like way out there, just like Tim had said. He's like, oh hey, you know, this is just I got you guys, you know. And then of course you've got Vito Corleone, who's got his classic, you know, I'm a New York guy, and I'm here to tell you that I'm, you know, if I see somebody around the corner that's a heat, I'm out of there in 30 seconds. You know, I got that idea that I got no attachments. You know, the fact that these two guys can just play off each other so well in that one little scene in the cafe where they're drinking coffee. I mean, it was just mind blowing to see that they were actually sharing the same frame, as opposed to like previously when they were in The Godfather Part 2, they couldn't have been together because they were in different time periods. And then of course I want to address the golden hair goddess in the room, Ashley Judd. All right, so 1990s Ashley Judd and 1990s Charlize Theron. God damn, they look the exact same. No matter what, I would see a movie, I'd say, hey, that's Charlize. No, that's Ashley Judd. And it was just crazy that these two girls looked so much alike. I mean, I thought they were like separated at birth, and they're still hot today as they were back then. Speaking of women, Natalie Portman. Okay, so Natalie Portman, she's, you know, Queen Amidala. She's Evie from V for Vendetta. But this was like the second time we're seeing her in a feature film. Prior to this, she was like a 10-year-old girl in The Professional. And I'm like, I forgot that she was in here. And I mean, yeah, she gets maybe like 3 or 4 scenes, but you kind of feel for her. You know, she kind of gets that. You kind of get the feeling that she, you know, she's part of a divorced parent or divorced couple. And then of course, I gotta say Tom Sizemore. You know, I can safely say his name without having to worry about anything. The fact that he looks like a rat bastard, but he plays the role so well. And I like the fact that he's, you know, he goes around just calling everybody slick. So, but yeah, that's my opinions of this cast. It was great. It was awesome. You know, there's a lot of actors in there. And as I'm watching the movie, all I can think about is, you know, maybe I should get some Allstate.
Yes,
that's the only thing I ever think of when I see that guy.
Dennis Haysbert. All right, Andres, your thoughts, sir, on the cast?
Well, the cast is awesome. They're amazing. I disagree with some of you guys. I think the cast are used wonderfully in the film and the story. It's just, you know, I mean, this movie is very macho and like very male-centric kind of film, which is totally fine. That's the 90s. right? And that's what I like about this movie. It's just a time capsule of what was going on at that time. And I mean, yeah, I had to agree with everyone. Like I forgot that some certain people were here. Like I forgot that the State Farm guy was here. I was like, oh yeah, that is true. He's in this movie, and now I'm like, oh, State Farm is here, and and then he dies. Like it'll be one of the most brutal commercials I will probably ever see in my life. Anyway, no, that didn't happen, folks. But yeah, I mean, of course, Michael Corleone, great actor as always. I mean, this was not like 2 years after his Oscar win for Standing on a Woman. So he was really up to his prime. And yeah, I agree. His performance is over the top. I do agree. I mean, it helps to keep the mood lively. Where Vito Corleone, he's doing his usual Italian performance. Never get personal. His usual stick as an actor. And then of course, Batman himself, Bruce Wayne. It's same year as Batman Forever came out. And I mean, look, I love him. I'm so sad what happened to him, later on in life. But he's a great actor, and I think this performance he has here is really great. Yeah, I always forget the actress that's Bruce Wayne's wife here. I forgot that it wasn't Charlize Theron. I always forget about that for some reason. I was like, she so look like her. That's the thing. This is mind-boggling. And yeah, Natalie Portman. I mean, she was the Millie Bobby Brown of the 90s, and this was a year after The Professionals, which I forget. I was like, oh yeah, year after that. But we can talk all day about the cast. The cast is amazing. Some of them you do see them around. I mean, William Fincher, he's such a typecast. Of course, he's in The Dark Knight playing the same kind of role there. Working with the mafia there in the Dark Knight opening. But yeah, I love this cast. I have no problem with them in this film.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, Jack, your thoughts on the ensemble cast, sir?
I would bang the fuck out of Amy Brennehan in this movie. This Amy Brennehan, this version, total slut. Totally hot as fuck. Straight up. Pardon my French, guys. We try to be gentlemen here on the Bleeding Edge panel. No. Like I said, Diane Venora played Justine Hanna. That was I said his name, Pacino. Drake. She played the spouse or whatnot with Portman as the daughter, and she just didn't work for me. They really tried to make that relationship, didn't they, Max? Such a pivotal thing. They really wanted that to be a big cornerstone, right? Macaulay's romance is more fleeting, right? It's on the side almost, you know what I'm saying?
I would say they paint her more as a victim than a real character. It's hard to get attached to her when all the women kind of in this movie kind of just are just victim. That's their role. We don't get to really see much of them other than when they're interacting with we don't see them at all unless they're interacting with the main men of the movie. So it's hard to really get attached to them when all we see is the drama that's caused by the men.
Yes, that's what I meant when I was saying that those parts aren't that well done. As far as the cast goes, it's great casting. Overall, across the board, Danny Trejo is great in this. He really is. I love his character. He's really solid. He's a clutch secondary character in this film. It's he is in everything. Like Cyber said, William Fichtner being in this was really glue. That was a really great move for them to have in there. I like seeing him. And Ashley Judd, yeah, between her and Diane Venora, she outacted Diane Venora. I actually found her compelling in the film. So, that's pretty much it, Cyber. That's it, sir.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. To the Ashley Judd, Charlize Theron look-alike, I just don't see it because Charlize Theron's a lot taller than Ashley
I don't
Judd.
see it either. I don't see it either.
And, Charlize Theron was a lot thinner. Ashley Judd has a lot more kind of thickness to her. She's a little more voluptuous, I feel. So I think it's funny that to get them confused, especially at this time, because Charlize Theron was so skinny and so young, especially at this time, because in 95, one of her first films was that Ranger Games, and she would have been in 95 only 19. So, I mean, she was really young at the time. So, actually, Joe was a little bit older because she was born in the late.
She was up age, sir.
Yes, I know. Jesus Christ, Jeff. Anyways, I know this. Anyways, but Ashley Judd was, probably more in her mid-20s at this point. Born in 68. So, she definitely looked a little bit older. So, I don't see the correlation, but both very attractive women. And I could definitely see getting the blonde hair mixed up, most definitely. But yeah, I didn't see the correlation between those two, but great point there. Most definitely. I thought that's an interesting little tidbit. All right. So this movie, when it came out in 95, the production on the film was $60 million at the time. So think about this huge cast. $60 million for this huge cast was pretty pricey for 1995, considering usually most of the big stars at the time maybe made $2 or $3 million for a film if they were really top budget, and not like today's standards, unfortunately. 30 years later, of course, a lot of these people would be making $5-6 million. But at this time, you could think with all these huge casts in this, that was a very expensive movie. Besides production costs for the production, pyrotechnics and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that was a pretty hefty price for 1995, but it ended up bringing in $187.4 million at the box office, which I thought was pretty impressive for that time, especially during that time frame. We didn't have streaming. It didn't go directly onto VHS at the time. It usually took a couple years before it hit VHS at this time. I mean, a lot of time you would have to go to theaters to be able to see a film before it got released on a home media type. So I thought that for $187 million, that was pretty good for its time in 1995. All right. So basically the movie, if you're not familiar with what the movie's about, basically it's about Pacino. Drink. He, playing this detective who is trying to solve these recent bank heists or just, heists that are going on and trying to find who's responsible and, take them down. And we get kind of a little bit of the work life along with the family life with all these different characters that are in the movie. And that's, pretty much what the basis of the film is. It's them trying to figure this out, solve the case, stop the bad guys, along with, the outcome of, unfortunately, what this is doing to their personal life, really. And all these characters, I think, just were all very well wrote. They were all very well written. They were all really fleshed out very well, I thought. And I think that, what they came up with, what, Michael Mann, wrote for this film, he did a really good job at writing it. So, basically, I'm not going to go over every single aspect of this film. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about certain points of the film. And we're going to talk about those certain points of the film that I think were the number one parts of this film, kind of the core of the film, I like to call it. So to start us off, basically, I would like to talk about that first heist at the beginning of the film. What were you guys' thoughts on that first heist? Just how it all worked out, how it went. Did you like the action? What did you think about how it all played out? And kind of just your thoughts on how the movie kind of starts out. So let's start with you, Andres.
Well, Yeah. So the heist, the first heist, is really spectacular. I mean, first off, I think one of the unique things about the director, right? Yeah. So the director of the Heat, uh, you know, is he's very like realistic kind of action. All the gunshots and all that is like real.
Uh-oh. We got a freezer. We got a freeze up.
Uh-oh. Did you freeze, Andres? Time Cop, Time Lord? Doctor Who?
Oh, okay. I thought I became.
You got
I
caught
thought I
between
became
dimensions.
Iceman.
That's what it was. He
I
was
think
time
so.
slipping like Loki.
Yeah, you notice he had like 8 fingers there at one
Oh,
point.
Yeah.
Right?
The Matrix.
oh my, or everything everywhere all at once. I was like, ah! Oh my
It's
god.
nice to see you
Anyway.
rematerialize correctly.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh. Hold on. So sorry, folks. I'm watching the ending of the Heat. Oh my god, it's crazy right now with me. Anyway, the heist sequence really awesome. I mean, the director of the Heat is so good at making these action scenes feel real and like they could happen in real life. It's not like stylistically like John Woo or John McTiernan, the Die Hard films. Like he really goes at these sequences to be like very like antithetical in real life. When we get to the last bank heist scene, it's spectacular and like feels real, like and like this first one feels like you're experiencing it in IMAX. Like that's what the feeling of this heist is for me every time I see it, which is really great. Yeah, it's such a great sequence, but also tells you about the characters and how efficient they are as a team. That's the one thing that's cool about it. Like they're very time consuming. You get the new, actually that one crew member that's like very crazy, and he's the one that ratted them out. Like I don't know, he's new in the crew or like this is his first time. Like you guys can confirm that for me.
Yeah, that was his first time.
Okay, because like every time, okay, yeah, because every time I see this film, I always get kind of confused. Like, is it his first time? Because later on, he say he knows them well. Anyway, thank you. Yeah, and you see him, this radical, person that's not by the books like they are. Following the orders from, Vito Colon, himself. You see right away what kind of personality these characters are during this heist, which is cool. But yeah, I really enjoyed the sequence. It's really awesome, but it doesn't take the one that we're going to get to later on.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Middle-aged Tim, same question, sir. Your thoughts on that first heist and kind of the beginning of the film?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, not only do you get a sequence that has a lot of action, a lot of moving parts that makes it look fantastic. I mean, they made the locations as important as the actors. I mean, instead of doing this on a soundstage, they're actually, filming around, Los Angeles. They're making this real to us. And I think that's really important. And then it's obvious that not only did they spend quite a bit of money on the actors, as you pointed out earlier, but they train these guys. They train them to look like a very cohesive unit, and it shows. I mean, they look like they are very methodical at what they're doing. Everybody knows their part, except for obviously the new guy that they brought in as kind of an extra, Waingro, who ultimately screws everything up because he's not part of that. He's just a hired gun cowboy, and it shows. But just everything, like right down to the, they got the trucks that the ambulance that they stole. They stole the tow truck to smash into the, into the armored car. They've got the charges that they've bought, and they know how to place them to make an exact explosion to not blow up the entire armored car and hopefully not kill everybody inside, which they didn't initially do. They're throwing out the spikes to stop the police when they get there because they know they're going to have, like, I think it was like a 3-minute response time. So they go in, they know exactly which container to grab their stuff out of, find those bonds that they're looking for, get out and get moving. So unfortunately, you know, again, you got Waingro who decides he's going to shoot one of the guys because I think he's looking at him funny. And so then they have to commit to murdering everybody because you can't leave any witnesses at that point, which screws everything up. But it sets the whole tone of how that crew works and what they will and won't put up with. And then it starts off, you know, once it's all done, showing the police not being ready for it when they come in, they're, you know, driving across and crashing their cars and everything. Pacino gets in there. And I think that's the one he realizes this is not an average crew. These guys are going to be tough to track down. This is going to be a hard case to crack. So I think it really sets the tone for the movie. And like I said, I think they just use every element that they have at their disposal in a really good way that just makes it seem like a really big scene in a movie that's full of big scenes.
Excellent. Thank you. Max, same question, sir. Your thoughts on kind of the intro and that particular scene, sir.
Hey, Max, before you do though, Tim slipped the P word in there, so we got to drink.
Oh, great.
I did. Yep. Sorry. Or am I?
Yeah. So there, like, you know, later on we get more scenes where you can kind of just kick back and relax while you're watching. But with this opening scene, you really have to be paying attention throughout the whole thing because they're introducing characters so fast. They're introducing each character's role in the heist, you know, super fast. So you have to really be watching to know how this whole thing is going down. And my favorite part about this opening is that they give layers to the criminals. It's not just all the criminals are the same. You know, some they have their own personalities, which really shine through. And it kind of gets at a point that I think carries on throughout the film, which is that I think that in society, we kind of have things that we are okay with being bad and things that we can't accept. And the criminals really show this by, you know, throughout the movie, we root for the criminals almost as much as we root for the police. And the only person we're not really rooting for is this new guy they bring on who is, you know, kind of the true bad guy of the film. And I just love it so much because it shows that the real things we dislike are disloyalty, impulsivity, you know, being a liar. Like, those are the traits that this guy shows that the other criminals don't. And so there's a lot of depth there that I like.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And yes, that's a very hard word to say. Impulsivity. That is a very good tongue twister. So you did great, sir. Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Mr. Middle-Aged Matt, your thoughts on that scene and the beginning of the film.
Man, there's so much that I could piggyback onto that Max and Tim has said, but I mean I agree totally with everything that they've mentioned. What I like best about this is, so right off the bat we get to see how much of a tightly knit group this is, that they've got everything measured out, and I could just see that, like, you know, prior to the opening of the movie, that they have already made little scale models of everything, kind of like, you know, Doc Brown did with the DeLorean, and like showing like the cars coming into everything. Yeah, so it was really neat to see how fluid this all goes. And then of course they introduced the wild card with Waingro. And of course, I didn't, you know, you kind of get the idea that he's right off the bat, he's kind of a jerk, you know, he's kind of mouthy, and he just, honestly, you could tell that he's probably a psychopath right off the bat, because he kills that guard, which just spirals down through the movie. And I don't want to reveal anything further in the movie, but there is that one part where later on we find out that he's really a true scum of the earth guy with that lady of the night. And you kind of get the idea that there's definitely something seriously wrong with this gentleman. This guy definitely needs to be spending time in prison, if not what Vito Corleone was going to originally do with him at the after the diner scene. So, yeah, I gotta say, as far as an opening of the movie, this is definitely one of those things that kind of establishes everything. It shows you the band's all together, and it's like all you really need in there is you son of a bitch, I'm in.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Perfect. All right. Jeff, your thoughts, sir.
Well, it's the panels did a really good job of pretty much picking this apart to where there's not much for me to work with, besides just the fact that it's high end 90s action when it comes to like the first heist, right? Like it's high end. It looks cool, but like they do a great job of executing Waingro fucking up in the heist, right? Like they do a really good job of like really pointing out, where he fucks up and how he becomes sort of like almost symbolic as like a cancer almost against like Macaulay and his team, right? Like overall, like I mean, like all the guy does is basically hurt them. But he's a really shitty character. I'll tell you right now. That Waingro character, he's a piece of shit, man. Killing escorts and shit and whatnot, little girls and shit. The fuck. But besides that, I mean, I really don't have that much to say besides just that, again, probably the only scenes that I see in the whole film with, I'm not going to say his fucking name. I'm going to say it as Vincent Hanna and Justin Hanna, Diane Minora's character, right in the beginning when you see them in bed, that's probably the best that you see them in the whole movie, I think. After that, it's all downhill, almost, right? But it's a good introduction. It starts off what is a really good cat and mouse there for a while between the two spearhead characters of the film.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Very well done. All right. So you would like to share some IMDb stuff and the trailer, sir?
Let's go trailer first. If everybody needs to go to the bathroom or anything and whatnot, this is the time
I was
to
just
go.
about to say I really gotta go.
Go ahead. Take
Okay,
off.
I'll be right back.
He's here. I can feel it. You want to be making moves on the street? Allow nothing to be in your life that you cannot walk out on in 30 seconds flat if you spot the heat around the corner. No, my life's a disaster zone because I spend all my time chasing guys like you around the block. I do what I do best. I take scores. You do what you do best, trying to stop guys like me.
You've been walking through our life dead.
All I am is what I'm going after.
From The Godfather to Scent of a Woman.
What do we got?
From Raging Bull to Goodfellas.
Assume they got our phones, assume they got our houses, assume they got us.
Their performances have created a legacy of landmark films.
I want full surveillance. That's 24 hours, round the clock. We never close, open 7 days a week.
Now, for the first time, America's two most electrifying actors collide.
With this guy, there's one sheet you should pass. The bank is worth the risk. You should take it down.
12.2 million.
You're up.
This crew is good.
It ain't worth the risks you take. Like in risk versus reward, baby.
You're fugitive number one with a bullet.
I'm double the worst trouble you ever had. If I'm there and I gotta put you away, I won't like it. But I'll tell you, you are going down. What if you do got me boxed in and I gotta put you down? Because no matter what, you will not get in my way. I will not hesitate for a second.
Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer in a Michael Mann film. Heat.
Hey, do we have to drink if the trailer says their names?
No.
No.
Good question, though. Very good. I thought this trivia was really cool, Cyber. Check this out. Get the fuck out of here. All right, so check this out.
Okay, I'll leave.
I like this. Read the dubbing and the gunshots during the bank robbery shootout. Michael Mann had microphones carefully placed around the set so that the audio could be captured live. This added to the impact of the scene because it sounded like no other gunfight shown on screen. I just thought that alone, just that part right there, was really interesting. That's why in the latter heist scene, the gunshots are so loud. Is because of the extra microphones.
Interesting.
There you are.
Was there anything else, sir?
No, sir. That's it.
All right. Excellent. So there you go, people. There was extra microphones set around the set during the final scene, the final action sequence at the end of the movie, to give you more realistic sounds. There's some info you probably did not know. What? In that. And yes, what? Yes, Skeletor, yes. All right. So basically after that kind of beginning intro of the film, we kind of get a little bit into their lives. We see kind of what they're dealing with. We're introduced to Ashley Judd, to Diane Venemo, Amy Brenneman, and we kind of get these other characters. We're introduced to Dennis Haysbert and stuff like that, and we kind of get a little bit of kind of what's going on at work and what's going on in their personal lives, kind of pretty much through basically majority of the latter of the film there after the first initial heist. And so we get kind of some interesting sequences. We of course get a lot of conversations between the wives and their husbands, stuff like that. We get introduced to John Voight during this time, after the initial heist, and to sell the bonds that they stole. We're introduced to William Fichtner and stuff like that, and we kind of just get a little dynamic of them trying to figure out what's going on along with their family lives, and them trying to figure out what to do next after the heist that they just did. And basically, I feel the next really great sequence, it was the diner sequence. I felt was really powerful sequence. Them all getting there together, and then them trying to kind of take out the plan of taking out that one loose cannon, and he ends up escaping. So what are your guys' thoughts on that whole sequence there? And kind of that guy getting away and everything. What did you think? Did you think that, overall, did you think it was a good point in the film? Do you think it worked well? Did you think he was going to get away right at that get-go after he messed up on the heist? And overall, just what your thoughts were on that sequence of the film. Starting with, let's see. Who should we start with? I'm going to start with you, Jeff, this time first, so that you have something to say, sir.
Excellent, sir. Now, what's the question again? I'm just kidding. No, what is the question, though? Seriously. No, I'm just joking.
How many whores have you fucked recently? No, you know what I asked you. I said, what did you think of the diner sequence?
I thought that it was suitable to the film. It was what it should be. Like it fit into the structure of the film. It's how it should have been handled. And the only thing that made no sense was how just because they saw that cop car, like DeNiro, Drake. Why did Macaulay keep his boots stuck up on Wayne Grove's fucking neck or something, right? During that shit. I don't get that. You know what I'm saying? How did he disappear like that? So that's all. That's all I have to say. It's just, that part I was kind of like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. They're beating the shit out of him. So how the fuck did you just disappear like that?
So, all right. So I go to you first and you have really nothing to say. Okay, thank you. Prove my point. Anyways, Andreas, your thoughts, sir?
Well, 3 words: hungry, frustrating, and then 3, well directed scene. First of the frustrating part was like I was happy that they were going to kill him, and then there were of course the two characters they're in the crew that were watching out for cops and all that to like be careful what they're doing outside. But of course, when that police cop was there, of course, the how you say it, Neil, the main character, right? Neil, like saw it and like he was stupidly look up and not paying attention to Ringo, and like he can easily slide under those trucks. And I was like, why did you do that? You were so smart, or you could have been smart to take him in another like a back alley of the diner or someone to kill him that way. Like I was so frustrated that like he was so like not paying attention to this guy that he was going to kill. I don't know. I was really sad, and of course, later in the film, he gets in a lot more trouble, and I was like, oh, okay, you're pissing me off, sir. So yeah, the scene. I was hungry because the diner. I mean, great diner. I hope they had good food there. But then when they were gonna take Ringo out, to kill him, because what he did in the the truck heist, right? In the beginning of the film, I was like, okay, perfect. I'm gonna kill this guy. He's not, he's a liability for them, and they just didn't do their job right. And I was like, oh my god, so frustrated. So yeah, that's my opinion on that scene.
All right, thank you, sir. Good job. Middle-aged Matt, your thought on the diner scene, please.
Well, it's almost like a typical trope in one of these movies is getting like the group together after the heist to see the fallout of everything goes on. And I have to agree that I think them leaving the diner and McLaren not keeping his foot on Wingro's throat or making some kind of move to keep him there is definitely not something that the character that we had just seen would allow to happen. He should have been able to be smart about it. So of course that's probably just due to poor writing. They probably needed to maybe come up with some better ideas as to how Wingro could get away. And then the diner itself, I thought was rather neat because we get a neat little scene where McLaren like slams Wingro's head on the counter. I'm thinking, well, if I'm Wingro and this just happened to me, I'm not following those guys out the door. So it's like something's going to happen. So yeah, I think character wise it was neat to see, but plot I'd say there's a small hole there.
All right, excellent. Max, same question, sir. What did you think of the diner sequence, sir?
I really like that it shows how careful these guys are with everything they do. It's not just the heists that are planned out and super careful. It's like everything they do has to be in order. Even when they're just dealing with, this new guy who's making mistakes, like they have lookouts, they're being very cautious to not arouse any attention from the police. And so I think it kind of makes sense that he gets away because they'd rather him get away than cause a scene. And so they were trying to do it low key. The police were right around the corner, so they had to stop, and then he gets away. It makes sense to me.
Excellent. Thank you.
They threw that cop car in there with that left turn signal into the parking lot, which went right into the parking lot, right? So like then all of a sudden decides to bust that Yui. There is that whole deal there where you're like, oh shit, it's about to turn into the parking lot.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, middle-aged Tim, your thoughts on the diner sequence, please.
So viewing this years later, this is really the first chink in the armor for me on this story being solid. And I'll tell you why. It's because I'm going to back it up all the way to where they're sitting in the diner to begin with. If you're about to whack a guy, you don't start slamming his head into the table and the windows and draw attention to yourself, to everybody else around you. So when they see this guy in the news tomorrow that he ends up dead, they're going to be like, I remember him sitting in a booth with these guys and they were roughing him up. So that's the first problem I have with the scene. The second part I have a problem with is they get outside. He's got the trunk all lined up with plastic and everything. Like he's thought this out. Like it's back to being, what you'd expect from Macaulay. But these guys are buying ARs, AKs. They're spending money on the tech of the day, shape charges, silencer. I don't know. Like it seems like a silencer wouldn't be out of reach for these guys. If I was him, I'm like, I think I'm gonna put a silencer gun. Even the cops are coming around. I'm popping that guy in the parking lot, and then we're whipping him in the truck, or the trunk of the car, because you're just not going to shoot a gun like that in a parking lot of a busy restaurant and draw that kind of attention to yourself, especially after slamming his head into the table. So, although the scene made sense, it was poorly executed and poorly written. I mean, it doesn't go with the character at all on how he would plan something like that out.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, definitely, we kind of established that, DeNiro's character, Drink, is a very meticulous thinking person. And so, most definitely in that sequence, him messing up and allowing that guy to get away, that loose cannon, was definitely in not his realm or how he executes things. So I could definitely see how people would have would think that was kind of a chink in the chain, or that it was poor writing and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think that was a thing that Michael Mann wrote, Drink, to kind of give you that closure at the end of the film, allowing it to move on so that we have what happens with the prostitute and everything like that. So if they had killed him right there off, you wouldn't have that later on in the film. So I kind of get it, but at the same time, I also get you guys' point of view on how that would seem, but poor writing, most definitely. All right. Great job, guys. Great job. All right. So like I said, once again, we have quite a bit of just kind of going back and forth between the characters, their family life, and what's going on with the heist guys. And basically, I feel like we get kind of we start to see kind of what Macaulay's thoughts are, and him and his relationship with Amy Brennan, and we see more of what's going on with Pacino and his love life and his marriage and everything like that. Drink. And we get more of that kind of that. I felt it was kind of filler during these sequences that I felt they could have trimmed down a little bit to make the film a little shorter. I would say 2.5 hours would have been perfect for this movie. I just felt that a lot of this family dynamic that they kept interjecting, like the dinner scene where they're all out to dinner, the heist guys, and they're giving their significant others presents and stuff like that. I feel that scene was so unnecessary. I feel that there's a lot of those little scenes that some of them worked well, and I get the point of them, but other ones I just felt they could have trimmed those out altogether to just keep it flowing more evenly. So really, I feel the next best scene, like the one that I would say was the next great one, is when Pacino, Drink, goes to talk to his informant in that junkyard, which I thought was a really great scene. This is one of the first scenes we see really kind of, his character get really kind of that, yeah. We see him over the top here, which I think was really fun. And I thought Michaela Williamson was really good in the scene too. So what are your guys' thoughts on that sequence with this, like, basically kind of like the shakedown of this informant that he's going to see? And do you feel like that portion of the film, you can talk about anything up to that point, a little bit after it if you like, just what your thoughts kind of on that section along with that sequence? Let's start with you, Mr. Middle-Aged Tim.
Again, one of those scenes with Pacino, Drink, where he's just too over the top. It was just to the point of almost being unnecessary. And it was such a cliche scene too, as far as the way the shakedown went and how the informant is jacking him around and stuff. It it was almost pointless. Although it did get us to go see Tone Loc, so I guess in the end it served a purpose. But outside of that, it could have been way shorter, less dramatic, and it just was almost ridiculous in my mind.
Excellent. Thank you. Jeff, any thoughts on that sequence or any portion thereof, sir?
Yeah, the whole Lieutenant Hannah going into the black club deal and everything whatnot was dope, right? Meeting with the cousin or whatever whatnot from Phoenix or some shit or whatever, right? And that ends up being something fruitful for them. So that was dope. Besides that, really, I mean, again, they really they try to force the whole dynamic with not only Hannah and Justine, but then their daughter too, right? And Natalie Portman's character Lauren, and that's also almost unnecessary in the film. It doesn't really do much for me. And we see this, this going on throughout the film. It does nothing. It does nothing for me. So other than the action stuff, this other stuff is just sort of, it's not high mark shit to me. It just really isn't. So besides that, I mean, again, depending on where we at again, Cyber, I apologize. Is that where we at?
So I was asking about the scene where Pacino goes to interrogate the guy before he goes see Tone Loc.
I thought that Pacino's whole don't waste my motherfucking time bullshit was over the top. And that's all I got to say. I'm out. Peace.
Okay. I loved it. I love that part. I love how over the top he is. It's so Pacino. A drink. And sometimes when you're over the top, I feel that it enhances a scene. And I think that it worked well for that situation where, you're interrogating somebody and you got to get a point across. So going that over the top, I feel was very much a cop detective type of thing.
Fuck you, Steve from Bumble. Fuck you.
Okay, Steve from Bumble. Yes, fuck you. And anyways, really, really over the top was really fun, I thought. But anyways, going on to Max, your thoughts, sir, on that sequence.
This is definitely the part of the movie where it started to just get a little too slow for me, a little too I was kind of just okay, let's get the ball rolling, because I was starting to check out a little bit, especially, and I just kept looking at the runtime of the movie and being like, oh my gosh, I still have 2.5 hours left of this, which I don't want to bring the movie down. There are some great things to come and some really fun parts, but yeah, this is not my favorite part of the movie. I do enjoy the over the top yelling. I think that it's it's obviously too much, but it doesn't feel unbelievable. It feels like a character that could exist. Not sometimes when people overdo it, it seems like, ooh, that's a bad actor. They don't know what they're doing. This didn't fit here. For me, it felt like it fit okay.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Andres, have you already given your thoughts, sir? I can't remember.
No.
Okay, I thought so. Okay. Andres, your thoughts, please, sir.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where we get to know about the character Vincent more, which is important, to understand the two sides of the coins, the criminal lifestyle and, the police comp life. Because we get those conversations with, Vincent and Neil about their perspective of life. And because it's important because they're going to bring that up into their conversation in the diner, their scenes together and later in the film. So yeah, the sequence, I get it's slow, but it's kind of important for character development for our main protagonist we're following here. And so I really like it. I mean, look, I'll take that with Pacino acting over the top as usual. I mean, I never get tired when you say, "Give me all you got, give me all you got." It's such a
Drake.
Oh, did I say Pacino? Oh, fuck me.
I got to refill again.
I'm sorry, folks. I thought I was thinking with his character's name, and then I felt like, oh, fuck. You know what? F you, F you, Vincent. Anyway, but yeah, I think this sequence is really important, especially, you know, with the stepdaughter. You know, you see he kind of does care, you know, because he's very cold. You know, Vincent is very cold kind of character to his, you know, what, third wife that we get the information from. Like he's divorced twice. I guess this is his third, you know, wife going, right? And but you know, with the daughter, he kind of cares, and that's kind of cool. So you see like some humanity with Vincent as a, you know, a cop, and that's really good. So yeah, I really enjoy the sequence. It's very important for the character development later on.
Excellent. And all right, who has not gone yet?
Me, middle-aged Matt.
Middle-aged Matt. That's who. Okay, I couldn't remember if I had gone to you first or Tim. I was having a hard time because your pictures look so similar. Anyways, middle-aged Matt, please, your thoughts, sir.
All right. Well, first off, I gotta say this game's kind of fun because you young guys can handle, you know, drinking, you know, repeatedly over and over again. I've already pickled my liver a couple times, so my problem is my freaking bladder isn't as big as it used to be. So the question you had said is about the CI, right? Going to the informant.
Yes, correct.
All right. So what I thought about everything leading up to that particular point is it's all character development. You get to see Hannah's actor portraying a very hopped up cocaine addict kind of performance, you know, with his overly dramatic and big, you know, oh yeah, just tell me now kind of thing. It's kind of neat that you get that kind of an actor doing that role. I can't see that particular performance done by anybody else. Like I couldn't see like Kevin Costner doing that or anything. It was definitely neat to see, and as Tim had said, it leads us to getting a chance to see Tone Loc, and it also leads us into the truly pivotal point in the movie where we get to understand the whole thing between Tom Sizemore's character constantly saying the word slick, like, hey slick, why don't you shut up, slick? You know, that's kind of like, that's pretty much just like the whole pivotal point. If it wasn't for that, the rest of the movie the bad guys would have just walked away.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So yeah, great sequence, I feel. You know, like everyone's mentioned a little bit about the Tone Loc sequence there. That was fun when he talks to him. And it's always funny. You can always tell Tone Loc from anyone else because of how deep his voice is and just how his voice sounds, especially with his songs. And as soon as you hear his voice, like if you even put your head away for a second when you're not paying attention to the movie and you hear his voice, you're like, oh, that's Tone Loc. And that scene is so much fun because Tone Loc is just so fun to watch. You know, even though he had only the two albums that he put out in 89 and 91, he actually had a little bit more of a successful acting career than he did his music career. Even though he still mostly does his music career these days, I mean, still, like you think about the late 80s through early 90s, he was in quite a few films over that time frame. You know, from Ace Ventura, he did a song. His song was used in Uncle Buck. You know, he was very famous during this time. So when he pops up in it, I was cracking up. Like, I totally forgot he was in this. And I was like so happy to see him because I'm like, I absolutely love a lot of his music. He just was really fantastic. But I thought that his sequence is really well done and really fun. And what he brings to the table just really helps the story along, I think. Now, so that great pivotal sequence, I thought, really kind of leads into as we go along to the next big pivotal scene is the heart to heart that Pacino and De Niro have together. Drink. Now, this sequence I think is a really pivotal sequence of the movie. This really kind of, I feel, re-amplifies kind of getting you back in the story, kind of gives you a little refresher, helps you get rid of some of that nonsense that we have just gone through, and kind of reinvigorates like, oh, these two were after, they're trying, one's trying to get away from the other one's trying to catch the one. You get that great cat and mouse feel. So what are your guys' thoughts on the diner sequence with De Niro and Pacino, and kind of how that whole kind of scene kind of pushes forward what the latter half of the film is about? What are you guys' thoughts on that? Let's start with you, Sir Andreas.
Sure. We're talking about the diner scene, Cyber.
The scene with Pacino and De Niro, and they have their heart to heart.
Two drinks. Two drinks.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this scene is iconic. I mean, if you go to school or film school, like this is the scene that like the teachers just use to kind of show how you write dialogue, how you shoot a scene. The mini shots, the wide shots, because this scene is so well directed, well written, well acted by our two actors here, Vincent and Neil. That's not their name. They're not their names. That's their names. So, and it's awesome. It's really great. And I say before, with the character development, you get the two different sides of the their point of view of life. About how the cop life is, and that versus the criminal life is, and it's really intriguing with these two characters, and they both own that, like Vincent just jumps up very well with Neil's like over the top, like brashy kind of personality, right? Because he's more cold and calculating kind of person, which is very intriguing. And it just engrossed me. And after that scene, it's so like satisfying that the bad guys can like again just out like how to say out escape the surveillance of the the cops, because they know they've been like tailed and surveillance by the police department. So it's really cool how this crew are very smart, and I just love this scene. It doesn't get old. It's just really great. One thing I just want to bring up, this movie is very long. I want to bring up the score. And speaking of Batman, the actor here, Batman Forever, this is scored by Elliot Gonitho, great composer. He did the Alien 3 soundtrack, also great. He did the Demolition Man, which is funny that we talked about that earlier. Great score here. I always love the score. It just brings the vibe of this movie, this tech noir kind of film, or noir if you want to call it. So yeah, I really love this scene. I'm like curious what you guys think about this sequence. It's everyone's favorite like sequence of this film, if you talk to your friends or not.
Excellent, thank you, Andres. Yes, it's a very great sequence that has a lot of meaning, a lot of power to the film's whole storyline in just this one scene, because you kind of get an idea of where these two characters are coming from and kind of what their end game is, and everything they go through up to this point. You kind of get to see, like, you can see how it affects them and how their answers are in the scene. And I think that, yes, this is a very talkable scene that a lot of people probably enjoyed the most from this film. So I can see that being a lot of a great talking point for a lot of people. All right. So middle-aged Matt.
Yeah.
Same question, sir.
Yes.
So I think that this is truly a pivotal scene as far as the story goes, and it also deals a lot with character development. I mean, you get to see that these two guys could be friends if it wasn't for the fact that they're both on different sides of that thin blue line. I like the fact that you get more of an in-depth look into Hannah's character. You know, how he's, even though he's kind of I would say he's a dirty cop, but he's you know, kind of an asshole-ish cop with everything. And then you also get to dive into McLaren's whole, you know, I am going to walk away within 30 seconds. Don't get any attachments. You know, he's like a true professional. And then you kind of also get a little bit of where their lives are kind of changing. So I think that it's definitely a key pivotal scene that's necessary for the movie. But I think everything around it could have probably been a little condensed. So that's my thoughts.
Thank you. Yes, and I agree. Yeah, definitely could have been a little condensed to get to that point, most definitely. All right, Jeff, your thoughts, sir, on the heart-to-heart between Macaulay and...
Well, first off, I don't think that they're equals because at least, you know, Macaulay, right, he doesn't have the balls to tell, you know, Edie what he's actually down with, like how he gets down. At least Lieutenant Hannah tells like his chick, right? Like, you know, if you want to fuck with me, this is what you're gonna like be dealing with, right? Macaulay doesn't have the balls to do that and like let Edie know what he's really about and whatnot and everything to establish their relationship. And so since they use them as like a contractual point throughout the film, like those two relationships are sort of like contractual, you know, they use them as a device throughout the film to kind of contrast the two characters as a part of their whole dynamic. They're not equal right there, right? Because like if Macaulay was really that hardcore, he would just tell the truth to Edie and be like, Edie, I'm a fucking criminal. Like, love me or hate me, but I'm a criminal. As far as the scene goes, because we don't like to do that over here at the Bleeding Edge, sir. But anyways, as far as the scene goes in the diner, it's good. It's a solid scene. It's the one time when fucking Grandpa Al doesn't, you know, she's got a big ass or whatever, whatnot, or some shit. Like, it's the one moment in the film where he decides to not make one of those stupid comments or whatnot, you know? Don't fuck with me! Or whatever. There you go. I'm out. Peace.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Middle-aged Tim, your thoughts, sir, on that sequence?
Well, I think this is the moment everybody waits for in the film. It's putting two major film icons together in a scene. Finally, they have a conversation. So with that said, it's everything you could hope for and more. But I think if you dig a little deeper, what makes this even more amazing is that, I mean, this whole movie is based off a true story. This conversation really happened between the real criminal and the real cop. Now, I'm sure it wasn't this elegant or this well played out, but it still happened, which, I mean, just the thought of a cop pulling over a criminal and saying, hey, let's go have a cup of coffee and talk about what you're doing. I mean, it's amazing to think that actually happened in real life. I mean, it just boggles the mind almost. And as far as getting back to the script of the movie, I think it's a level setting. I mean, because Pacino's already, you know, been called out by Macaulay, you know, and realized like this guy is way smarter than I am. I mean, when they have them down at that shipping container area and he basically plays them for fools, he's like, oh, I'm in over my head. This he's wicked smart, you know? So I think them sitting at the table level sets like, look, I know who you are. You know who I am. We're both professionals. We're both adamant about what we're going to do. I think, again, I agree with comments somebody else made. We could have been friends in another life. And if I've got to shoot you, I'm going to feel bad about it, but I'm still going to put the bullet in your head if I have to, if you force my hand. So it's an interesting dynamic in that, you know, and it's almost, you're almost a little sad. You're like, you know, you wish these guys could almost be friends, but I just think it's so monumental on so many levels, you know, that it's just such an important scene that you've got to love it, you know, no matter what.
Totally. Thank you. Excellent. Max, same question, sir. Your thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite scene in the movie, as a lot of you have said. It's just very beautifully written. The characters are just so strong in this moment, and I like that it shows that they're really two sides of the same coin, and they gain a lot of respect for each other in this moment. And it also kind of makes it seem like their lives are inevitable. Like they had to go down this road. There was no other way. When he asks him, you know, like, could you ever imagine yourself in another life? And he's like, no. And he's, you know, yeah, me too. Me neither. So I like that. It's really interesting. It puts their lives into perspective.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, great job. Great job, guys. All right. So really, this brings us to kind of the final third of the film of that 2 hour and 50-minute long film. And we have quite a bit that goes on during this, you know, latter half of the film. We have, you know, basically we have an attempt for, you know, Macaulay along with Kilmer's character, drink. To trying to break in somewhere while Hannah and his crew are hiding in these giant boxes to try to catch them in the act. You know, we get that scene, you know, basically where they, you know, basically, you know, stop the heist from happening because they feel something's off. And they basically, you know, they're not able to capture them because they stopped trying to do the heist, even though this is a part of the main heist they're going to be trying to do. And, you know, we get that scene. We get, you know, some other sequences where they try to, you know, confiscate some money from some people that they're owed for those bonds. We got a great shootout there that happens. You know, that one guy that gets ran over by the car that, you know, Macaulay is driving. They did such a great job with the prosthetics and everything like that. It really looked like he really got hit by that car, and his like leg and arm were all mangled and stuff. That was really done well. You know, there's so many parts of this film that just you get so much unnecessariness, I feel, leading up to these great big moments in this film. And like, I thought that was an okay scene that worked well for the film. And a couple of those scenes I thought were, you know, kind of interesting and, you know, showing, you know, them trying to doing their cat and mouse type of thing and stuff like that. And, you know, I felt that they could have condensed them most definitely as they went along. And then basically, really, the next, you know, big sequence I think that really was pivotal is that last heist sequence. And this final battle that they have where, you know, as Jeff had mentioned earlier with that trivia, they put all the extra microphones out to get more of a real sound, a better sound of the gunshots and everything. This was an all-out battle that was really cool and really well done. And, you know, basically we go from them going into the bank, getting the money, and then making their way out, and then start having this huge shootout where Dennis Haysbert gets killed. Other people get injured. We get the death of Tom Sizemore's character. You know, we get all this crazy action sequence where they're all over this one section where the bank is and just taking out all these different cars and bystanders getting shot and all this kind of stuff, which just was really an amazing sequence that was so action-packed and fun. And a nice way to kind of move on and kind of give us a great battle sequence closeout, you know, leading up to the final encounter. So before we get to the, you know, the finale of this film, what did you guys think of that final battle sequence there, up to, you know, when, you know, DeNiro and Pacino face off eventually? Just kind of that, you know, the end of it when DeNiro and Kilmer get away. Drink 4 times. So what are your guys' thoughts on that final battle before them getting away? And, you know, of course, you know, Kilmer's character, unfortunately, is injured. So let's start with you, Jeff. What did you think of that final battle?
I love the gunshots. I love how loud they are. It's unfortunate. Honestly, I remember being younger watching this film when it actually like it personally like had stakes for me because it was the first time seeing it. I watched it like 50 something times at this point. It pissed me off that they got set up like that. But overall, I felt like I loved watching the part where Macaulay and Chris's characters have to strategically work their way up the police line to get to that car that they take off from. They're just like shredding rounds, especially Chris. I mean, I don't know what kind of gun that was that he had, but that fucking motherfucker was nasty. That bitch was nasty. It was shooting some, you could tell it was some, go ahead.
I think he only had an AR-15. The one who actually yeah, I think the one who had the cool gun was Vincent's character. He actually brought a Fallon, which is like a 308. That's a big round. So he brought a serious rifle, but the rest of them had ARs. And then
Vince's wasn't even fully automatic, right? I mean,
no, those go fully automatic too. And then Tom Sizemore had an AK, which is a bigger, like beefier round too.
Yeah. So either way, I loved watching them like fight for that ground like that. That was some really good action. It really was very strategic. I love just how many rounds they shot off and how it sounded. It really sounded great. It's just very, very, very vivid. I didn't like Tom Sizemore's character picking up that little girl at all. I felt like that made no sense for his character, right? Like you already showed him earlier with his kids and shit and whatnot, and his wife and all this shit and whatnot. Why would he do that all of a sudden?
Desperation.
Why would that happen? Seriously though, I thought the whole point was that these guys have scruples, right? Like they have some substance to them, even if they are criminals. We're supposed to that's the whole premise of the film, is that we're supposed to be seeing two sides of the coin. Good, good and evil, law and order, whatever, whatnot, right? And there's supposed to be reasons why we should root for Macaulay's team. So that's all I've got to say, Cyber.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Middle-aged Tim, your thoughts, sir?
I enjoyed that scene a lot. I mean, in fact, it's where I thought the film actually stopped because it had been so many years since I've seen it. And I realized, there's a whole 45 minutes after this. Awesome. It just keeps going. It's a film that keeps on giving. And as much as I loved it, because I mean, you can tell they brought in some kind of military person. I think it was like a special forces, like air service person or something, to work with these guys because they moved well. They moved well as a team and everything. I get a little nitpicky because I thought it was weird that Tom Sizemore's character had, as I pointed out, the AK, where the rest of them will have ARs. You would think they would all carry the same gun so they could interchange, pass the ammo back and forth. But that's getting into the weeds a little bit.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, that's just me. Like if I was like, oh no, we're all going to carry the same stuff because that way we can, if you run out, I can throw you something, kind of thing. But that's the weird stuff I think about at night. But other than that, I mean, yeah. And they also took these guys out and had them practice a lot. They again, much like the John Wick film, they had these guys on a line shooting these guns for real with real live ammo. So when they got out to do this gunfight, they were ready. They knew how these guns acted. They knew how to work with them. And then putting the microphones around, these guys are shooting blanks. It's loud as hell. It's fantastic. I mean, it's, they're not just pretending they're shooting like cap guns. They're shooting real live, again, blanks, but they're as loud as the real thing. So it really added to the whole feel of it. And I think it's kind of interesting, not 2 years later, you have the North Hollywood shootout. And it's very similar to this, where these guys, in this film are just tearing the cops up because they're with shotguns and pistols. And that North Hollywood shootout, you got a couple guys with AKs and full body armor doing the same thing. So you almost think it was reversed, like that had happened first, and they were like, oh, let's use that as a premise for how we do this gunfight. So it does show how the cops are way outgunned compared to a well-established crew like this. So I thought that was very telling and very interesting that, life imitated art, I guess, kind of in its own weird kind of way. So But yeah, it's a great shootout. It's other than, yeah, I agree with the picking up the kid was kind of a weird one. I just write that down to desperation, but anybody who has their own kid is never going to do that. I mean, that's my opinion on that one. Like, you're just not going to, like, I don't think as a parent you can consciously do that. So I thought it was a little off center for that character as well. But otherwise, beautifully choreographed. It was great. It goes on the right amount of time. The bank job is actually well done, on point, exactly how you think it should happen. So it's a great scene. And then you get 45 minutes more after that. So you get the movie again that keeps on giving.
Exactly. Thank you. Awesome. Andres, same question, sir. Your thoughts on that action sequence?
Oh yeah, I agree with everyone here. I mean, it's one of the highlights of the film, besides the two main characters hugging one another in the diner scene.
Touch on one another?
What? I say talking to one another, doofus. You fucking kidding me? Fuck you, sir.
Fuck you, sir.
Well, fuck you, sir. Anyway, pardon my French. Anyway, great sequence. I mean, look, this sequence is so obvious influenced Christopher Nolan for the bank heist sequence of The Dark Knight, and I have to congratulate this film for inspiring another great scene years later. I mean, this scene is so incredible great. I mean, first off, the sound design is just incredible. As Jeff brought up that trivia, I mean, yeah, it just brings that energy and that like realistic, gun shooting that maybe you could be in that situation as a bystander. Like it really brings that like experience to you that very well. And just in general, seeing them doing their work as professional heist people, it's cool to how they knock down the security guards, putting their mask, professionally and gently asking the people to like lay down and don't do stupid things. It's like it's cool. It's like, oh, they're not doing this crazy thing, and it's like, I'm gonna shoot you and kill you, and then they just probably kill them anyway. But no, they were professionals. That's nice, right? Yeah, I mean, poor one of the police officers got killed. I don't know what was that. The guy from Monk, Ted Levin, the Detective Mike Bogdell. Rest in peace, sir. You did your job, and he just got caught by Batman of all people, by a gun. So, rest in peace, sir. In the film movieverse. But yeah, it was just an incredible sequence. I just never get tired of it. But yeah, I do agree with people. I never thought about that. What was that? The actor from Saving Private Ryan taking that kid up. I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, oh, but I agree with I think Tim said before, it was desperation. I mean, what else is he gonna do? He doesn't want to go to prison, So, hey, you have to take the risk. But yeah, I have nothing to say about the sequence. It's just so amazing. And look, we get more fantastic 40 minutes after that. Besides that, oh my god, I almost say his name.
You already said it. Once you say the last name, that's enough. What the fuck, Drake?
Oh, all right. You know what? I'm gonna say it now. Fuck you, Pacino. Fuck you. Anyway. And when was it Neil? The week passed when Neil went back to his house and he took the TV out from his house. Cyber, or is that after the heist sequence? You know what I'm talking about? Because he goes back to his house. His wife is with the other guy. She's
when
like
he takes the TV.
Yeah. No, that's before.
That was before.
That was before. That's before, because
Okay.
afterwards is when he has to save Natalie Portman's life, and they end up at the hospital.
Okay, because I want to bring it up because there's another actor I recognize that's in other movies that we know, but we'll get to that. I just want to make sure because
You can talk about it. You can talk about it. That's fine.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, Cyber. that sequence is amazing. I mean, first off, when he say sit down, like oh my god, I almost sound like Arnold right there. Anyway, you know, when he says to the guy sit down, it's so funny. That's one of my favorite over the top performances from Al Pacino. The guy that's the affair with the wife he's the douchey father from the douchey stepfather from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, when the T-100 went through his the milk and that's that same guy. And then he's the same guy who is the douchey husband of the main final girl in Candyman, and which I was happy he got killed towards the end of Candyman, 1992 film. And it was so funny when I rewatched this film. I was like, oh, it's that guy. And I'm sorry, I don't know his name, the actor, but he's in so many movies, and he always plays the douchey husband or boyfriend and whatnot. I just wanted to bring that up because I always enjoy that sequence. Yes, that's all I had to say. The heist sequence, amazing, is the highlight of the film.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Max, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I mean, this scene is so fun to watch. I think it was super well done. I love that there's so much action packed into it, but you can still tell what's going on. I think that a lot of action movies, sometimes like things are happening so fast and the camera's moving a lot, and it's like you know there's action in there, but you can't really tell exactly what's happening. Here, I feel like you can get a good sense of everything that goes on, even though a lot is happening at the same time. And bullets are flying, there's lots of noise, but it doesn't feel overly chaotic. It feels very orchestrated and very it flows nicely. The scene flows really well so that you're able to keep pace with it and enjoy it the whole time.
Excellent, thank you. Middle-aged Matt, your thoughts, sir?
Honestly, I don't think there's anything more I could add to this. I mean, it's a scene that you have to see it. It's it's the whole reason you watch Heat is because of this scene. I wouldn't mind seeing like a documentary or behind the scenes on how they set all the shots up from the camera. It's one of those sequences where it's like, did they do that all in one giant sweeping crane shot going through, following everybody through? Or I'd like to be a fly on the wall to see how they laid it all out, because from a film student kind of standpoint, it would be neat to see the behind the scenes stuff to it.
Totally. Actually, if you own either the Blu-ray, which I think it's supposed to be the 20th anniversary edition, they have a really great making of on that edition of the battle sequences, which was really interesting. From my understanding too, that they're going to be doing a new making of for the 4K release that's coming out. So that'll be interesting to check out too. Anyways, so great job, everyone. Really well done. Really well done. All right. So basically, the end of the film, we have a lot that goes on, and we have to deal with Pacino having to save Natalie Portman's life. Right. We have, basically Macaulay, pretty much grabbing Amy Brenneman and wanting to flee after that last heist they just did, with Chris getting injured. And basically they make plans to meet up at a certain house, and those all fall through. And as Macaulay is going to get out of town, he decides, he needs to go back and do something. Well, while he's doing that, that's where we get the justice of that screw up getting killed. Finally, he shoots him right in the chest several times. We also have the death of William Fichtner happen at this time too, leading up to this. We have, basically Macaulay trying to finish some things up before he leaves. But unfortunately, because he goes back and does that, that's when Hannah is able to get back on his trail and go after him. and basically we have kind of that final showdown where they're, Hannah's tracking him, and they end up going to the if I'm incorrect here, is it the airport they end up going to? Is it they're at the airport in the back?
Yep. Yes, it's the airport.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're at the airport at the end, and basically Hannah is looking for Macaulay, and he has his gun out and everything, and they're kind of chasing each other, and basically he ends up turning just in time to see him and shoots him. And we go back to that conversation at the diner when Macaulay says, "I will never go back to jail." He utters those words before he passes by saying, "I told you I'd never go back to jail," and basically, that's the end of the movie. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this at the finale of this film? Anything you would like to talk about that you appreciated or liked or disliked about this end portion that I did not mention, you can talk about if you like. Just overall, what were you guys' thoughts on how this concludes? And overall, how do you think that the conclusion completed the film? Do you feel it completed it, or do you feel that there's some loose ends or open ends that could have been done differently? Let's start with you, Jeff.
I don't think it was well done. I don't think the finale serviced the film well at all, or the ending. I don't think it serviced the film all that well, because again, this is overall really just a good action movie. I mean, it's not a dramatic, profound, Oscar contending, like acting going on type like film overall. It's just not that kind of movie. So take that into consideration that it is just a bust out action film, right? With some cop, criminal back and forth, role play kind of going down. I think that the last 40-50 minutes of the film after the diner sequence between Macaulay and Hannah are kind of just useless in a way. Like they're kind of a waste of time. Like if they made this movie now when they do Heat 2, they should like cut that part out and just get right to the point. Because like the fluff up until that point just does not service the film. And why was Wayne Grove even worth killing? Like seriously, McNally had his girl. He had money. He could have bailed. He could have taken off and made his flight and shit and whatnot, everything, and went and lived. Why did he have to go kill fucking Wayne Grove no matter what? I just don't get that shit.
All right. Thank you, sir. Middle-aged Matt, your thoughts, sir?
Well, yeah, there are some holes to the end of the movie that I think they didn't quite wrap up real well. The biggest technical thing I have to say about the end of the movie is that I don't know how often you guys have flown in and out of an airport, but the lights don't turn off and turn back on the runway. They're on 24/7. So, I mean, that whole part was clearly, movie magic. And then to actually answer Jeff's question about why he had to kill Wayne Grove, it was because of his own personal code. I mean, he wanted to take this guy out because he was a true asshole. And honestly, the other thing that there's two things in the movie that I kind of wish they would have gone back and explained more of, is that when Wayne Grove killed the lady of the night, as we try to be gentlemanly about it, is that they had mentioned that she was like the third or fourth victim of somebody who had was killing these street women. And I just couldn't help but wonder if maybe they would do a DNA test and discover that it was Wayne Grove that was killing all these prostitutes.
Us dirty motherfuckers call them streetwalkers, right?
So, and then the other thing is we never find out what happens to Mad Mardigan. You know, he like drives away, but I'd like to know what happens to him. So those are my final thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, that's something definitely they should have definitely had completed, given us an idea of where he ended up. I don't know. Maybe they might mention that in Heat 2. I have no idea, but that's definitely something that would have been nice to have seen some closure on that. Most
or Willow season 2.
Oh God, Andres, your thoughts, sir, on the conclusion of the film?
Well, I mean, I like the conclusion here. I can understand you guys. It feels like an afterthought. I can understand that. I mean, it's kind of similar to The Dark Knight. Like some people kind of complain, you know, after the Joker gets, you know, hand up in the like building there, and then suddenly we get this other like extra ending with Two-Face. Like I get that, but I think this ending is kind of important. I mean, we're kind of building up to them like chasing each other. It's like, I mean, it's a cat and mouse movie with these two. So and I agree with Tim or you know, Matt, you know, bringing up that, you know, like he had a cold, so he had to go to kill Ringo at some point in the film. So you know, it just was just choice to end the movie. Again, Dark Knight connection there. I was thinking about that. Anyway, yeah, I just like the sequence, and I didn't know that those lights. I was always wondering, like, those lights were real life, and I was like, oh, do airports have those? And now I don't know, Tim, you bringing that up. I was like, oh, so the fact that the director just made it to be stylish is like, oh, okay. And one thing I want to bring up with the director, who with he and, you know, Manhunter and Thief, he's very much a like style over substance kind of director, you know. So like stuff like the plot doesn't make sense in this movie, or like there's like a plot that should be important, you know. Like we brought up, you know, the victim that, you know, unfortunately got killed by, you know, Wingo. Like we didn't bring that up again. Like the fact that, you know, they didn't do DHS, like it's just fair, really. And then same thing with you know, Batman. You know, his whereabouts. I mean, it's, you know, it's not like important, you know. So this movie is. I mean, we really call him Batman or Bruce Wayne, folks. I'm splitting here. Anyway, Bruce Wayne. Bruce, you know, him, you know, getting shot and then, you know, trying to, you know, meet up with his wife and kid. You know, it was like, okay, you know, he's going there, we understand that. And then after that, he just disappears. Maybe he's going to Gotham City, folks. That's the answer I'm going to give you guys. He actually went to Gotham City to become Batman after this horrible, horrific change of
I like it.
Yeah, there. I answered your question about where did this guy went to, and he went to Gotham City. I'm so happy now. We just solved the mystery. Anyway,
first White Vision's penis. Now this.
Oh, hey, I mean, like, hey, look, it's not my fault. I mean, this is produced by Warner Brothers, who also has produced Batman Forever the same year. So it's, hey, it lined it up conveniently. Anyway, but yeah, I do agree with you, Jeff. You brought up like why kill, you know, Vincent's character, or yeah, Vincent or Neil. Oh my god, the character's name. Yeah, Neil. Ringo, right? No, Ringo. Like I'm happy that Ringo died. I'm talking about Neil and Vincent. You know, Neil's death towards the end of the film. I was happy that Ringo died. I was so happy. I'm happy that he shot him twice in the chest, in the eye, of all places. Okay. Yeah, killing Neil makes sense. I mean, like, despite they were like similar people, like, because they're similar people because they have this very obsessive compulsion in life of their work. but at the same time, they cannot go on forever. So one of them had to die, and unfortunately, Neil died, and Vincent won. So, but yeah. So I really enjoyed the ending. I mean, it's very Dark Knight ending. If you want you guys to be very comfortable about this last 40 minutes extra ending, just think of it as Dark Knight. It's like, oh, this is just more extra things, and I enjoy it. Anyway, I enjoyed the ending. I love it. Uh, well, I never expected to have more Batman references here, but we got a Batman in this movie. So, and he's in the marketing of the poster right here, in my background. So anyway,
Thank you, sir. Great job. Great job. Wonderful. Wonderful 60-minute man. You did a great job. Anyways,
back, baby, I'm back. 60 minutes.
Yep. All right. Middle-aged Tim, your thoughts, sir?
I have mixed emotions about the ending of this movie for so many reasons. And let's just start with Natalie Portman. I honestly, the whole character could just be eliminated from the movie as far as I'm concerned. It's really not important. But you have this great movie. You're kind of on a high. You get to see all these gunfights and everything. And then there's a suicide scene that just puts such a black flag on the show. And not only that, but then you have Hannah rushing her to the hospital, sitting with his wife, and he's like, "Well, I got to go catch this bad guy now." It's like, who the hell does that? You know what I mean? Like, who's going to leave? I mean, even though I understand they just had this horrific scene where she's bopping another dude, and he's all mad at her, you still wouldn't leave her at this point. Like, you just don't do that. Like, I think it's like a smear on his character. So I could have done without any of that, personally. As far as the airport scene goes, though, I mean, I think it's really pivotal. That really was filmed at an airport. So I don't know whether they turned the lights on and off. I can't speak to that for sure. But I know that scene was almost canceled because of actually the Unabomber threat. So they almost didn't film that. And can you imagine this film without that scene in there at all? It would have been a whole nother film and hard to finish it. And I don't think it'd be possible in post 9/11 world. I don't think they even would have allowed it. So I think the cat and mouse chase between the two of them is interesting. Although sometimes I'm watching Macaulay run and I'm like, I don't know how Hannah's able to follow him. It's almost a little ridiculous that he's able to track him like he is through all of that. But when they get down to the final bit of it, I don't know about you guys, but I find myself kind of rooting for Macaulay a little bit. Like, I kind of want him to win. I'm going to root for the bad guy in this one. And it was kind of sad to see him get shot, but I thought it was kind of a nice tie up at the end where, these two guys that kind of have this understanding and they live by this code. He's like, look, I told you they're never going back. He's like, you're right. He kind of holds his hands as he dies. So there was a little bit of, I think, closure in that. So I felt kind of good about that. I think you're a little wondering about where Chris ends up. Obviously they like, oh, this guy's in this car. It's clean. He's got a different name, blah, 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 let them go, which I think is going to be the premise of Heat 2 to some extent. I don't know how they're going to do it, but you always kind of wonder what happened to him, and I guess he got away and maybe he's got all the cash. Good for him. And I think it's interesting. His wife at the very last moment, or girlfriend, wife, I don't remember, kind of gives him the symbol, the signal like, hey, no, things are bad, keep moving. So but yeah, I felt like the Portman thing was just such a black flag on this whole film. It just brought me down. I think especially if you're a parent, like that just kills you. Like the whole thought of that. It's just, it wrecks the whole film for me.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a really good point, Tim. It is. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's hard. It's like watching Butterfly Effect. Same thing at the end. I never want to watch that film. Same thing with there's a Stephen King film.
They almost trivialize it.
Yeah. And it's just like it's a passing thing they talk about. And it's the same thing in The Mist. Like, have you ever watched that?
I'm sure, Max, for you, that probably it's not something you want to see, right?
Oh yeah, that ending is very bleak.
Yeah. So I could have done without that.
Mist,
but otherwise,
what about Pet Sematary? That one.
Okay, can we let him finish, please, guys? Thank you.
Oh, no, I'm all good. You guys can throw in all you want. But I guess that's all I really got to say. But otherwise, if you did away with that, it's still it's a pretty acceptable ending. You always wonder what happens to Chris. You could do without that. And I think the scene between the two main characters is well done, and especially that it was actually done at the airport. So I think it's fantastic.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, Max. Your thoughts, sir, please.
Yeah, I also could have done without the whole Natalie Portman stuff. I mean, I don't even think her character really adds anything to the film. I think that his relationship with his wife is enough home life to get you kind of interested in him as a character. But I don't know. I think it makes a lot of sense why Neil would go back to kill that guy at the hotel, because earlier when he was saying like I couldn't imagine any other life for me, he's sitting there in the car and he's driving away and he's potentially leaving behind this life that he's built for himself, this life of crime, and he's supposedly going to go live a happy life with this girl somewhere else now. And I think as he's driving, he just realizes that he can't really do that. He needs to, at the very least, finish what he's got going on here. And so he turns around and does that. And I think that's really fun. And then the ending at the airport, I almost found myself getting a little emotional when he gets shot, because he's laying there and he's dying, and he just goes and sits with him and holds his hand as he's dying, and it's this very like respectful moment of like, I had to do this because this is who I am, and you had to do this because this is who you are, and there's no judgment. It's just, it is what it is. And and he's kind of there for him in a way at the end, which I think is really interesting to watch.
That's perfectly stated.
Excellent. Thank you, Max. Awesome, guys. Awesome. Very well done. All right. So we're going to go around and get everyone's ratings. We do ratings from 1 to 10 on for the films. We'll do that. We'll do plugs, and then we'll get the hell out of here. So starting with you, Max, what rating would you give the film, sir? 1 out of 10.
I feel like I'm saying something wrong if I give it too low of a score, because there are some amazing moments in this movie, but I just found myself too many times checking how much time was left in the movie and being like, oh, this scene is kind of boring. So I'd probably give it like a 6. It was really cool, but I probably won't be watching it again just because it took a lot of time out of my day.
Excellent. No, that's perfectly fine. We do not judge on ratings. We say what we want, and we're all good. It's all good. So yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, I would definitely, I get exactly where you're coming from, because there is a lot of dead space in this film, and because I haven't watched it in probably a good 5 or 6 years. The last time I watched it, I had forgot how much dead space was in this film. So, my thought process has changed quite a bit in that 5 to 6 years, and how much has changed since the last time I watched it. So I totally get what you're talking about. Andres, your rating, sir.
I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a great film. It had some flaws, yes. I do agree with you guys. There's like a couple dead spaces that we can get rid of, But man, it's a really good, very Amsterdam kind of film. It's a great noir film. It just packs a lot of style that you don't see a lot in films. It reminds me a lot of John Wick, how that film sets its universe and all that. Yeah, I grew up watching this film, and so I personally love this film. It's one of the director Heat's best films, filmography, besides maybe The Thief or the McKeans or whatnot. But yeah, 9 out of 10.
Excellent. Jeff?
7.25.
All right. Middle-aged Matt.
I'm gonna piggyback on Jeff's, but I'm gonna kick it up another quarter, and I'm gonna say 7.5 stars. Just like take a little bit of the extra, star there and kind of fill it in. And then I give it that because it's a movie of its time. It's clearly a lot better than the original film LA Takedown. If you guys ever get a chance to see that, it's pretty much the exact same movie. But yeah, I'm gonna say 7.5 stars just because of pace and because of the movie of its time. It's when I watched it in the 90s, it was more entertaining. The pace didn't feel like it as bad. But now that I've seen so many more movies this has definitely got a slower pace feel to it. So yeah, 7.5.
Awesome. Middle-aged Tim.
I think I'm going to give this a 8.5 to 9. I appreciate the longer movie, especially when it's got enough content to keep me interested and it's a good story. I get tired of these, $1.20 movies that they're putting out now. I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of it. So when I get a good movie with a good story that's long, I remember going in the store and buying some VHS, and there was 2 VHSs in there. Like when you grabbed one of those movies, there was 2 VHSs in that sleeve, you knew you're going to get something good. I mean, Godfather was like that. So I was very excited to get it. And so I think it's an excellent film. And I mean, is there stuff you can cut out of it? Sure. But, overall, still very enjoyable. Like I said, it's the movie that keeps on giving after the gunfight. So I enjoyed it.
Agreed. For myself, I give it an 8. I like longer movies too as well, especially if they entertain me. I think one of the best examples of something that I did not find too long recently, that I don't think that anything needed to be cut out of it, was Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, for a 3-hour long film, I think it was completely entertaining from beginning to end. And I prefer something that's longer too, exactly the money for my buck as well. $1.20, $1.30, it doesn't give you enough time to get in. I like a good movie that's between 2.5 hours. If you want to go 3 hours, just keep it entertaining. Just make sure that it gets to the point and, keeps it a good pace throughout the whole entire film. And there are plenty of them out there that are that good, and they're 3 hours long. So it's definitely it's possible to have something longer that really works really well like that. All right. Excellent job, guys. I'm going to push it over to you, Jeff, to take out with plugs.
All right. Monica Bowl Award winner on the panel tonight, Max from Horror Movie Podcast. Great job, sir.
Hey, thanks.
You are the Monica Red Bull Award winner on the panel tonight.
I did drink a whole Red Bull while sitting here. I had to pee very badly.
Oh, man, you know what? It must have been excruciating. I can't even imagine. Anyways, so why don't we plug you out first so you can actually go to the bathroom.
Sounds good.
All right. So you talk, sir. I just pull up your shit. Here we go.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, you can find us really anywhere. Just search Horror Movie Talk. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. We have our website, which you've pulled up here, horrormovietalk.com. There you can find lots of ways to listen to us and support us. We put out a new episode every single Wednesday. We try to prioritize new releases, but we also go back and review older horror movies, both good and horrible. So yeah, check us out there. Thank you.
And there you go. Humble man right there. Okay. Matt.
Yes,
aka Seth or Tim, who's going to be representing my pulling up your plugs?
That'll be me, Matt. All right. So, Middle-Aged Movie Review Podcast. You can subscribe to our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Podchaser. You can find us on YouTube, as Jeff has called up here. Our nickname is MAM Reviews because middle-aged movie reviews tend to get a little lengthy when we're closing out a show or something. You can also follow us on Facebook at MAM Reviews, as well as episode posts and news on Elon Musk's X. We are on Apple Podcasts, as you can see here. Please leave us a rating and review. Check out it. We've got we have 2 episodes up there now, plus our trailer. We'll be pumping out our 3rd episode tomorrow night around 9:00 Central Time, and we'll be covering the movie from Alfred Hitchcock, North by Northwest. So check it out tomorrow night.
Classic. Love that film. Ugh.
All right. Cyberneticshark, sir.
All right, folks. So if you enjoy me as a moderator or as a guest on the panel, you can definitely check out my solo content under Cyberneticshark. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, X, you can pretty much find me anywhere. I'm on pretty much all this stuff. So if you haven't gone on recently, as you can see, my most 2 recent are a couple trailer reactions, one to the upcoming Guy Ritchie film, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is based on a real story. And then also Bill Skarsgård's newest film coming out soon called Boy Kills World. Both really fantastic trailers. Definitely check those out. I did a couple of trailer reactions there for those. I have my Poor Things review coming up soon, along with my Madam Web review. I did a couple more recent shorts finally. Did Romeo and Juliet from 96, Last Voyage to Demeter, and then, of course, Heat. And if you haven't checked out my shorts, definitely check those out too. I want to thank everyone that has been subscribing recently. You guys have been rocking it at 745. So let's keep on track and get to that 1,000 mark. Me and Andreas.
Andreas, the pop culture guy.
Hello, everyone. This is Andreas Pop Culture Guy. This is the Andreas Pop Culture Guy channel presents. I'm up to 897 subscribers. Thank you so much, MCU Bleeding Edge community. I really appreciate this. Please help me and Cyber hit this mark this year in 2024. So recently, I just posted the fourth chapter of the Powerpuff Girls Super Smash Up. Great crossover. It's with all the cartoon shows that we grew up during the late 90s and the mid 2000s that I was in. And amazing content we're going to do in March. In 2 weeks, in March of 10th, me and Jeff are going to come back to do a live stream of Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, for its 30th anniversary when it came out in 1994. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to do a Ghostbusters 40th anniversary talk live stream to honor the new sequel of the Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, the sequel to the Afterlife film of 2021. Those are the plans for this month of March, which is crazy. And by the way, folks, and all of you panelists, Matt, Tim, Max, nice to really meet you guys. Happy March. Can't believe it's March already.
Happy March.
Thank you.
It just snowed today for me, so happy March.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It was great being on with all of you.
Hey, all right, y'all. Let's close this bitch out. Let's get everybody home. Thank you very much, folks. We appreciate all of you. Have a good night. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace. Hey, yo, Jay, can we get some ratchet one time?
Look, I don't wanna talk. How you try and press the kid and read it, you was